Ahí sí, David, así, ahí te escucho. Ahí te escucho. Espérate, mira, te voy a mostrar la imagen que se ve. Ahí, ¿se ve algo? ¿Se ve un edificio rojo? Ya, ¿y me escucho yo? Yo me escucho. Hola, ya, ¿sí? Oye, a ver, ¿me veo? El Chano se fueron a Holanda. Fueron a Holanda, de Corralito, que tú Maribel bien lo conoces en el Palacio de la Moneda por acá, largo, estamos con un corralito y una comitiva.
Цехановская приехала. Она такая, что просто теплее.
Czeka fajna, nie?
De lo que ha sido la ciudad universitaria
Ahí no pasa. Ahí посмотрим.
A tutaj to jest ambasador
No chciałam pozostać tutaj. Kierowca zabrał kubraczek. Poszedł sobie. Ja nie mam. Bo tak to nie że go zabrał kluczyki. No co miał? Stoi w kapturze. Nie wiem. No, ale kaptur jeszcze ma.
Вообще теплота была. Это самое, как Байден
No, ale ja to miałem
а в понедельник, завтра вылетаю, в понедельник опять. Nie są prawdziwe.
Ty, no możemy po drodze ty słuchaj,
Перешли-то już tu.
po drodze. Ty, ale zaraz, bo trzeba na Krzyżówkę od razu.
Tak jakby
Mam zabieg na nie ma na stacji.
później już ślimki będą. Знаешь, кто такой
Bueno,
ślimki?
entonces, ¿qué es lo que se sigue? ¿Qué es lo que se
Tak? Idź tam do tej restauracji.
Давай, все, давай, ślimki na małe, все, давай, пока, давай.
Łatwiej tobie teraz w tym przypadku.
Zostawimy cię.
Ty, słuchaj.
A nie zauważył.
Na mały czaj.
Pan policjant zostawi na górę.
Ничего не будет.
No pewnie, że tak. Ja mówię, 2 złote bym zapłaciła i bym weszła. No czemu? No wiesz,
Dla klientów za darmo. Na 2 zł te 5
powiedz, że kupisz coś po wyjściu.
Cukierka jednego jest kibel.
Ale to można wejść i zapłacić. To skorzystać można, jest opłata 2 zł i czekać.
I coś miał za darmo.
Ale ja... Nie wiem,
Ty, że się Biden wejdzie.
Biden ci pomoże.
Veía, era chilena. ¿Y sabías tú? Porque decía, que sé qué hora de Polonia, que sé qué hora de Chile.
Policjanty dostają
Puta mierda, eso que sé.
bocianów nie wzięłam. Tak spodziewałam się, że jest tak martwe.
Creo que la tele está así.
O 17 miałam.
No la hayan invitado a Biden. No, pero aquí no hay ninguna altavoz.
Ale nie jest powiedziane. Przecież tak.
Vamos al bar de los irlandeses.
Kierowca
Sí,
zabił
a ver si transmite la chamba de Biden, que seguro que sí. Ya, pero no vamos a estar 1 hora mirando. Esto está claro, ¿no? Pero vamos a estar mirando la pared 1 hora. Vamos a estar mirando la pared 5 minutos. A partir de ahí nos vamos al irlandés, porque seguro que tiene la tele puesta y lo podemos escuchar en vivo y no estar aquí. Porque no antes hablaba aquí, en esta plaza. Y ves todos los coches que se bajan el rollo aparcado porque han entrado ahí adentro. En el dentro hay una plaza. Es donde están. Sí, sí. Son las 6. Pues sí. Do you think we are going to hear anything?
Because the screen is over there, so I think his voice will be played by the speaker, so we can hear it, but not we can see.
Okay. The screen is over there.
Yes, that one.
Okay. There's just one.
Yes.
Yeah.
in front of them.
Yeah.
So we are not going to
Thank you. He thinks we are going to hear, but we are not going to see. You want to go there to see if we can see anything? Let's go. Okay. Bye-bye.
Kochanie, przecież masz świetne miejsce przy tym. Trzeba nas stracić, chcesz. Ja nie wiem, czy ja bym tyle czekała.
Ale spoko.
Proszę cię, przyjdź tutaj, dobra? Byśmy się nie zgubił.
Tylko nos wystaje, nie widać. No właśnie tak opowamy.
Czeka się siemnie.
To może lepiej tutaj, co? Tak, kochanie, nie ma tylko jeden. Dobra? Tylko nie bój, bo sobie przetłumaczy, dobra?
Check, check, 1, 2, final audio check, 1, 2, 3. CBS pool check 1 2 audio check 1 2 3 4 CBS audio check 1 2 check.
A rozumiesz coś? Gdzie dlaczego to jest nagranie.
Olha o Biden. Acho que é, porque parece cara que tá pensando na vida. No Biden sim.
Ale proszę księdza.
Acho que é isso. Aquele cara que tá pensando na vida. Não, não.
Parece.
Segurado aqui no. Vou gravar isso, vai ver. Que é o momento. Aparecer, sabe?
Jak teraz spadnie, to będzie po telefonie. A jeszcze nie spłaciłam.
Tego Ratzingera, jak tak zaczęły przychodzić na niego. Dziadek mi zabrał, nie wiemy kto z brzegu, ale
Mas você tem como ir pra cá, ali pra dentro? Porque não parece. Acho que tem como ir pra cá, ali pra dentro.
Gosia, idziesz czy zostaje?
A co? Kto zostaje?
Zmarzną.
A kto zostaje? Tak?
Prześlą zdjęcie. Co będzie pani marzła?
Proszę bardzo.
Tô vendo um total de 0 pontos. Aí, ó. Acho que é.
Ale ja mówię o jego
Eu já sei que deu bem. Realmente. Esse carro tá atrás de um carro da polícia. Dois carros
Dobrze. Przez flesze. W fotozwisku? Nie? Nie piszesz z fotozwisku.
Mas eu chuto do lado.
Abriu, peraí. Vê se é. só se pode. É não, não, claro que não, vai ser com a cara pra gente, não. Ao invés de falar que porra é essa, você vai falar no ataque.
Ninguém entende quando fala que porra é essa.
Biden não apareceu não. Mas que apareceu. É uma movimentação.
Aquele sinal de... Ah, não, era a van mesmo, mano. Deve ter a van.
Nossa, mas que demora.
Demorado isso. Isso aí é pra confundir os snipers, então.
É, acho que é. Nossa, na Polônia, quem é que quer matar o pai da Polônia? Ninguém.
Exatamente. Deve ser a coisa que mais querem no mundo.
Eu, por exemplo,
Falando isso, ela... Olha, todos os carros agora estão alinhados para a deviação. Nossa, eles estão fazendo uma comunidade. Você vai ver? A gente está aqui participando do nosso super da hora de repente ela tem.
Você sabia o que eu pensei?
Que merda, mano. Que não tem nada a ver. Que merda. Ai, meu Deus do céu. Olha, abriu uma porta ali. Que bom.
Zobaczysz, jak jest dziewczyna biorę, zobacz.
Ja patrzę sobie.
Zobacz.
Szanowni Państwo, prezydent Stanów Zjednoczonych Joe Biden. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Okej, it's me. Muszę mogę je to nagrać? Bo ty to strzelisz?
Thank you. Please, we have a seat.
Ale to jest tylko na telewizji.
Come up on stage.
Widzisz, on nie przyjechał, tylko jest na telewizji.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here. Mr. President, they tell me over there, be not afraid. These are the first words,
Idziemy zobaczyć na
first public address of the the first Polish vote after his election in October 1978. There are the words that come to define Pope John Paul II. Words that would change the world. John Paul brought the message here to Warsaw and his first trip back home, the Pope in June of 1979. It was a message about the power of faith, the power of resilience, the power of the people. In the face of a cruel and brutal system of government, it was a message that helped end the Soviet repression in the Central Land in Eastern Europe 30 years ago. It was a message that will overcome the cruelty and brutality of this unjust war. When Pope John Paul brought that message in 1979, the Soviet Union ruled with an iron fist behind an iron curtain. Then a year later, the Solidarity movement took hold in Poland. Well, I know he couldn't be here tonight. We're all grateful in America and around the world for Lech Walesa. Reminds me of that phrase of philosopher Kierkegaard. Faith sees best in the dark. They were dark moments. 10 years later, the Soviet Union collapsed, and Poland and Central and Eastern Europe would soon be free. Nothing about that battle for freedom was simple or easy. It was a long, painful slog, fought over not days and months, but years and decades. But we emerged anew in the great battle for freedom, the battle between democracy and autocracy, between liberty and repression, between a rule-based order and one governed by brute force. In this battle, we need to be clear-eyed. This battle will not be won in days or months either. We need to steel ourselves for the long fight ahead. Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Mayor, members of the Parliament, distinguished guests, the people of Poland, and I suspect some people of Ukraine are here. We are gathered here at the Royal Castle in the city that holds a sacred place in the history of not only of Europe, but humankind's unending search for freedom. For generations, Warsaw has stood where liberty has been challenged and liberty has prevailed. In fact, it was here in Warsaw when a young refugee who fled her home country from Czechoslovakia was under Soviet domination came back to speak and stand in solidarity with dissidents. Her name was Madeleine Albright. She became almost ardent, but they have always been under siege. They've always been in battle. Every generation has had to defeat democracy's moral foes. That's the way of the world. But the world is imperfect, as we know. Where the appetites and ambitions of a few forever seek to dominate the lives and liberty of many. My message to the people of Ukraine is a message I delivered today to Ukraine's foreign minister and defense minister, who I believe are here tonight. We stand with you. Period. Today's fighting team in Mexico and Kharkiv are the latest battle in a long struggle. Hungary, 1956. Poland, 1956, and then again, 1981. Czechoslovakia, 1968. Soviet tanks crushed democratic uprisings. But the resistance continued until finally In 1989, the Berlin Wall and all the walls of Soviet domination, they fell. They fell. And the people prevailed. The battle for democracy could not conclude, it did not conclude with the end of the Cold War. Over the last 30 years, the forces of autocracy have revived all across the globe. Its hallmarks are familiar ones: contempt for the rule of law, contempt for democratic freedom, contempt for the truth itself. Today, Russia has strangled democracy, has sought to do so elsewhere, not only in its homeland. Under false claims of ethnic solidarity, has invalidated neighboring nations. Putin has the gall to say he's denazifying Ukraine. It's a lie. It's just cynical. He knows that. And it's also obscene. President Zelensky was democratically elected. He's Jewish. His father's family was wiped out in the Nazi Holocaust. And Putin has the audacity, like all our autocrats before him, to believe that might will make right. My own country, a former president named Abraham Lincoln, voiced the opposing spirit to save our union in the midst of a civil war. He said, let us have faith that right makes might. Right makes might. Today, let us have that faith again. Let us resolve to put the strength of democracies into action to thwart the designs of autocracy. Let us remember that the test of this moment is the test of all time. A Kremlin wants to portray NATO enlargement as an imperial project aimed at destabilizing Russia. Nothing is further from the truth. NATO is a defensive alliance. It has never sought the demise of Russia. In the lead up to the current crisis, the United States and NATO worked for months to engage Russia to avert war. I met with them in person, talked to them many times on the phone. Time and again, we offered real diplomacy and comfort to strengthen European security, enhance transparency, build confidence on all sides. But Putin and Russia met each of the proposals with disinterested in any negotiation, with lies and ultimatums. Russia was bent on violence at the start. I know not all of you believe me and us when we kept saying, they are going to cross the border, they are going to attack. Repeatedly, he asserted he had no interest in war, guaranteed he would not move. Repeatedly saying he would not invade Ukraine. Repeatedly saying powerful and so unified, unprecedented and overwhelming. Swift and punishing costs are the only thing we're going to get Russia to change its course. Within days of its invasion, the West has moved jointly with sanctions to damage Russia's economy. Russia's central bank is now blocked from global financial system, denying Kremlin's access to the war funds stashed around the globe. We've aimed at the heart of Russia's economy by stopping the imports of Russian energy to the United States. To date, the United States has sanctioned 140 Russian oligarchs and their family members, seizing their ill-begotten gains, their yachts, their luxury apartments, their mansions. We've sanctioned more than 400 Russian government officials, including key architects of this war. These officials and oligarchs have reaped enormous benefit from the corruption connected to the Kremlin. And now they have to share in the pain. The private sector is acting as well. Over 400 private multinational companies have pulled out of doing business in Russia, left Russia completely, from oil companies to McDonald's. As a result of these unprecedented sanctions, the ruble almost is immediately reduced to rubble. The Russian economy, that's true by the way, takes about 200 rubles equal $1. The economy is on track to be cut in half in the coming years. It was ranked, Russia's economy was ranked the 11th biggest economy in the world before this invasion. It will soon not even rank among the top 20 in the world. Taken together, these economic sanctions, a new kind of economic statecraft with the power to inflict damage that rivals military might. These international sanctions are sapping Russia's strength, its ability to replenish its military, and its ability to project power. And it is Putin, it is Vladimir Putin who is to blame, period. At the same time, alongside these economic sanctions, the Western world has come together to provide for the people of Ukraine with incredible levels of military, economic, and humanitarian assistance. In the years before the invasion, we, America, had sent over $650 million before they crossed the border in weapons to Ukraine, including anti-air and anti-armor equipment. Since the invasion, America has committed another $1.35 billion in weapons and ammunition. And thanks to the courage and bravery of the Ukrainian people, the equipment we've sent and our colleagues have sent have been used to devastating effect to defend Ukrainian land and airspace. Our allies and partners have stepped up as well. But as I made clear, American forces are in Europe, not in Europe, to engage in conflict with Russian forces. American forces are here to defend NATO allies. Yesterday I met with the troops that are serving alongside our Polish allies to bolster NATO's frontline defenses. The reason we want to make clear is their movement on Ukraine don't even think about moving on one single inch of NATO territory. We have sacred obligation. We have a sacred obligation under Article 5 to defend each and every inch of NATO territory with the full force of our collective power. And earlier today, I visited here at Astor Stadium. My hand, little kids hung onto my leg, praying for the desperate hope that all this is temporary. Apprehension that they may be perhaps forever away from their homes. Almost a debilitating sadness. This is happening. Welcome 100,000 Ukrainian refugees. We already have 8,000 a week coming to the United States of other nation nationalities. We're providing over $300 million in humanitarian assistance, providing tens of thousands of tons of food, water, medicine, and other basic supplies. In Brussels, I announced the United States is prepared to provide more than $1 billion in additional humanitarian aid. The World Food Program told us that despite significant obstacles, at least some relief is getting to major cities in Ukraine, but not Mariupol, not Mariupol, because Russian forces are blocking relief supplies. We will not cease our efforts to get humanitarian relief wherever is needed in Ukraine, and the people who will get out of Ukraine. Notwithstanding the brutality of Vladimir Putin, let there be no doubt that this war has already been a strategic failure for Russia already. When you lost children myself, I know that's no solace to the people who lost family. But he, Putin, thought Ukrainians would roll over and not fight. Not much of a student of history. Instead, Russian forces have met their match with brave and stiff Ukrainian resistance. Rather than breaking Ukrainian resolve, Russia's brutal tactics have strengthened the resolve. Rather than driving NATO apart, the West is now stronger and more united than it has ever been. Russia wanted less of a NATO presence on his border, but now he has a stronger presence, a larger presence, with over 100,000 American troops here, along with all the other members of NATO. In fact, Russia managed to cause something I'm sure he never intended. The democracies of the world are revitalized with purpose and unity found in months that we've once taken years to accomplish. It's not only Russia's actions in Ukraine that are reminding us of democracy's blessing. It's our own country His own country, the Kremlin, is jailing protesters. 200,000 people allegedly already left. There's a brain drain leaving Russia, shutting down independent news. State media is all propaganda, blocking images of civilian targets, mass graves, starvation factories, and the Russian forces in Ukraine. Is there any wonder, as I said, that 200,000 Russians have all left their country in 1 month? A remarkable brain drain in such a short period of time. Which brings me to my message to the Russian people. I've worked with Russian leaders for decades. I sat across the negotiating table going all the way back to Soviet period election proceedings, talk arms control, to end the Cold War. I've always spoken directly and honestly to you, the Russian people. Let me say this if you're able to listen. You, the Russian people, are not our enemy. I refuse to believe that you welcome the killing of innocent children and grandparents, or that you accept hospitals, schools, maternity wards, for God's sake, be humble Russian missiles and bombs. The cities being surrounded, even civilians cannot flee. Supplies cut off, and attempting to starve Ukraine into submission. Millions of families are being driven from their homes, including half of all of Ukraine's children. These are not the actions of a great nation. Of all people, you, the Russian people, as well as all people across Europe, still have the memory of being in a similar situation in the late 30s and 40s. Situation of World War II. Still fresh in the minds of many grandparents in the region. Whatever your generation experienced, whether you experienced the siege of Leningrad, or heard about it from your parents and grandparents, train stations overflowing with terrified families fleeing their homes, nights sheltering in basements and cellars, mornings sitting through the rubble in their home. These are not memories of the past, not anymore. It's exactly what the Russian army is doing in Ukraine right now. March 26, 2022, just days before we're at the 21st, you were a 21st century nation, with hopes and dreams. People all over the world have for themselves in general. Now, Vladimir Putin's aggression has cut you, the Russian people, off from the rest of the world. He's taking Russia back to the 19th century. This is not who you are. This is not the future you deserve for your families and your children. I'm telling you the truth. This war is not worthy of you, the Russian people. Putin can and must end this war. The American people will stand with you and the brave citizens of Ukraine who want peace. My message to the rest of Europe, this new battle for freedom has already made a few things crystal clear. First, Europe must end its dependence on Russian fossil fuels, and we, the United States, will help. That's why just yesterday in Brussels, I announced a plan with the President of the European Commission to get Europe through the immediate energy crisis. Over the long term, as a matter of economic security and national security for the survivability of the planet, we all need to move as quickly as possible to clean renewable energy. And we'll work together to help get that done. So that the days of any nation being subject to the whims of the tyrant or its energy needs are over. They must end. They must end. And second, we have to fight the corruption coming from the Kremlin to give the Russian people a fair chance. Finally, most urgently, we maintain absolute unity. We must among the world's democracies. It's not enough to speak the rhetorical flourish of the ennobling words of democracy, of freedom, tolerance, and liberty. All of us, including here in Poland, must do the hard work of democracy each and every day. My country as well. That's why. I came to Europe again this week with a clear and determined message for NATO and the G7, for the European Union, for all freedom-loving nations. We must commit now to be in this fight for the long haul. We must remain unified today and tomorrow and the day after, and for the years and decades to come. It will not be easy. There will be cost, but it's a price we have to pay, because the darkness that drives autocracy is ultimately no match for the flame of liberty that lights the souls of free people everywhere. Time and again, history shows that it's from the darkest moments that the greatest progress follows. And history shows this is the task of our time, the task of this generation. Let's remember the hammer blow that brought down the Berlin Wall, the might that lifted the Iron Curtain, were not the words of a single leader. It was the people of Europe who for decades fought to free themselves. Their sheer bravery opened the border between Austria and Hungary for the pan-European picnic. They joined hands for the Baltic Way. They stood for solidarity here in Poland. And together, it was an unmistakable, undeniable force of the people that the Soviet Union could not withstand. And we're seeing it once again today with the brave Ukrainian people, showing that their power of many is greater than the will of any one dictator. So in this hour, let the words of Pope John Paul burn as brightly today. Never, ever give up hope. Never doubt. Never tire. Never become discouraged. Be not afraid. A dictator bent on rebuilding an empire will never erase the people's love for liberty. Brutality will never grind down their will to be free. Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. For free people refuse to live in a world of hopelessness and darkness. We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and freedom, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot